myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that thought.
Morning all, welcome to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. It is Tuesday morning, which means we're joined by Liam Kennedy from NewcastleWorld.com for all your Newcastle information and updates. Tune in to NewcastleWorld.com and Liam and Jordan will endeavour to get you everything that you need to know over the next few weeks as the relegation battle continues. Newcastle not dragged back into it, but ultimately 2 defeats, I think, has brought people back down to earth a little bit. Now the warm weather trip hopefully will be a chance for the lads to regroup and get back to winning ways in their next game. But as always, this show is split into 2 halves. We ask people on Twitter to put some questions in, and then we'll go to the chat. So Rich Joblin got in first. He said, do you think some of our English lads have been unlucky, Liam, not to get an England call-up given their current form? Even now that there's been a withdrawal or two, it just seems as if there's been no intention of calling any Newcastle players up. I mean, I, for one, am delighted that no one's been called up because Newcastle has to come first at this moment in time.
I would argue slightly different. I think it's disappointing. I think look, what I will say, there's a couple of points on this one. It would be nice to see players get called up because when they don't, and it doesn't feel like there's a pathway at the football club, then I think it can be disheartening for some of these lads as well. Would it be nice to see them rewarded? I think Target probably had a better chance than Burn. I think the way Gareth Southgate selects his squads, the players he sticks with, I thought Target had a better chance. But there's a number of key things before I go into what I was going to talk about with Southgate. He's very loyal to the squad that he has, the group, and it wouldn't be me. I think he doesn't pick on form, but I can see why, the logic and why he's loyal to his group. Look, he took them to a semi-final of a World Cup and a final of a European Championships. A lot of the large makeup of this group, so why wouldn't you stick with that? I can see the logic. It doesn't really ring true with some of the things he said in the past about selecting players on form. Because I would argue that Matt Targett and Dan Burn are probably 2 of the form English defenders in the Premier League at the moment. It would have been nice to see them get a go. But I think it's easily explained away by the fact that Dan Burn's 29. I think if he was going to get a call-up, he probably would have to be 5 years, 6 years younger. I think he's already proven, Southgate, that he either sticks with the group that he's got, and you have to be absolutely above and beyond outstanding if you're over a certain age point to get in England squads these days, because Southgate very much trusts the having come through the system himself, being previous under 21 manager, etc. He does tend to promote from within. Well, I would argue in the left-back situation, the 2 lads he has called up, you cannot really argue with, by the way. I'll down at Southampton. Were you there, Steve? Southampton? I thought
no, that was a game I missed, mate.
So I thought the best player on the park in defeat was Kyle Walker-Peters. I thought he was absolutely outstanding, right-footed, playing left-back. And it doesn't surprise us that he's got a call-up because he's a very, very good footballer and a player that a lot of other clubs would be sniffing around, to be honest. The form that he's been in when he's played and hasn't been injured. And the lad at Crystal Palace, by all accounts, haven't seen a lot of Crystal Palace myself, but has been getting rave reviews. So, and is of a certain age point. And that's what Gareth Southgate goes for. He just has he's a very particular manager, has a very easily pickable style, sticks with his main group. If you're performing for England, i.e. Jordan Pickford, you keep your place despite what your form might be like in the Premier League. There's other players who fit into that. Tyrone Mings is another player who fits in that category. He could be disastrous for Aston Villa week in, week out, but he hasn't really let England down. Hasn't let them down at all when he's been asked or called upon in the squad. So it's a particular way of doing things, and I think they've probably fallen foul of that a little bit. Dan Burn is his form, apart from probably the last 2 or 3 minutes of both of the defeats, has been absolutely incredible. Beyond what I imagine anybody thought it could have been. He's proven a real leader. By all accounts, he's excellent in the dressing room, has been a leader on and off the field. So I think it's positive, and I can see what you're saying, Steve. That look, let's just concentrate on Newcastle. Let's get these players, get them, trained, get them the rest they need. Let's not have them messing around, going away with England. But I think it'd be nice. It would be nice to see one of them, or at least one or two of them, get call-ups and be rewarded. Because we've been in situations like this in the past where players haven't got call-ups. And you look at it and say, look, maybe deserved and had half a chance. If X, Y, and Z gets called up, why not him? And there's often that the case at Newcastle. I don't think there's a conspiracy or anything like that, but it just would be nice. It's good for attracting players. When you say, look, I can go there and retain my place in the England squad, or I can continue. Because as players, I only think back to recently, and when fit, there are very few strikers as good as Callum Wilson in the English strikers in the Premier League. Sorry, and I think he is within the top 3 or 4 strikers in the Premier League, top English strikers, and I think he never gets a shout, never really has for quite some time. And I think again that comes down to age. I think Gareth Southgate very quickly moves on to younger models. And look, again, at the end of the day, there is a conveyor belt of England players at the moment. They are producing from the youth team up a steady stream of top quality players. So how can you argue with them? Everything that he's done so far in terms of results, Gareth Southgate's worked. So why change a winning formula? But for me, I don't see many centre halves in the form of Dan Burn. I don't see many left backs in the form of Matt Target. And look, if you'd said that to us the day that they signed on deadline day, I think most Newcastle fans would snap their hand off and say, look, if we're going to sign 2 of the best defenders on form in the Premier League, it's going to get in the position we're in now, which I see a lot of people, social media for me is just a pain in the arse, to be honest.
Not getting the arguments off me, mate.
No, I've seen some of that. I've seen something this morning, Steve, absolutely disgusted us, to be honest. But I will not talk about that unless you want to.
Doctored photographs showing me and somebody claiming that I was doing a Nazi salute at the match.
But it's funny to people this, though. There's some smart ass somewhere thinking that's hilarious. Like,
yeah.
And they don't realise they dehumanize people. They dehumanize people on social media. They look at social media and don't see that there's a man, Steve Wraith, behind that. They don't see that somebody might. I know Steve, you take it on the chin and all that kind of thing, but it's the same. I'll get it from time to time. Other people get it from time to time. People need to stop dehumanizing. There is a person who has feelings, who can be affected by that on the other end. And sometimes, even though you put a brave face on it, and I'm not talking about you specifically here, Steve, I'm talking about anybody, you put a brave face on it, it affects you. So please just think about what you're doing. These idiots who think it's hilarious, and they'll have a laugh among their little cabal of pals. They'll all be laughing their balls off to each other in the pub on Friday night. Well, look, it's not that funny, because something like that will happen to you in your life, and then there'll be a moment where it dawns on you and says, you know what, some of the things I've done weren't great. And I've done bad things. You've done bad things. We've all said bad things and said hurtful things to other people, but it's social media that dehumanizes for me. People just see a picture, a 2-dimensional picture. They don't realize that there's an actual person behind it and an account. Anyway, I've gone totally off on a tangent.
It's a crying shame that we have to, every now and then, we end up doing this and things get drawn to it. And look, I haven't been affected by it. I've just asked people to report it. And, as has Serena, who took the photo. So, from our perspective, job done. But these things happen. It's just Twitter, unfortunately, is completely out of control at times. Yeah. And again, it was used to try and whip up a frenzy regarding the Tommy Robinson interview I did, a year and a half ago now. And again, just ridiculous. People with political motives, Liam. We dealt with it through the takeover. We'll continue to deal with it. And block and report is the best way forward.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, and by the way, I've said my stance on the Tommy Robinson thing. I think it was quite an impressive piece of. It was quite impressive for you to get somebody like that in front of the camera. To be honest, doesn't mean I really sort of stand by it. Doesn't mean I've got my own views on it, but to get somebody like that behind the camera was quite a feather in the cap for you, Steve, on this channel. I thought, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anyway,
held him to account.
You did exactly. Yeah. No, I see it now.
David here, let's move on to that. What formation do you think Howe will play when everyone is fit? For me, there is a possibility to have 4-4-2, 3-5-2 and 4-3-3. Also, do you think the preferred formation will dictate our summer spending? great show last night, extremely moving, but a testament to the human spirit. Of course, he's talking about Susan's, coming on the show last night. I'm not sure whether anyone saw it, but was, explaining about, the sad case of cancer once again striking somebody in the northeast. And anyone who saw that last night, credit to Chris Hall and Pete Davey for taking that call last night and allowing Susan Vicky to speak. So that was really touching. But yeah, 4-4-2 I would say is probably going to be the preferred choice, David, and I'll tell you why. Chris Wood, much maligned, became New Zealand's record goal scorer last night. Scored twice in a 4-0 win against Fiji. And I think when Callum Wilson's back, I think we will go 4-4-2. What do you think, Liam?
I don't think you'll break up the midfield three that I think's worked quite well from. That's my opinion. I think you'll probably stick with that. I think they've got somebody like Joe Linton, who is a midfield destroyer, who plays as the most advanced of the three, who can win the ball really high up the pitch, as we've mentioned many times before. Joe Willock's the one who makes the breaks into the box and is more likely to get the goals. And then you have John Joe Shelby or Bruno sitting dictating the play. I think it actually is quite a nice balance in there. You'd potentially look to upgrade that in the summer, but I don't know. I think Chris Wood has limitations, real limitations in terms of the way he plays. I like him. I think he's a good professional. Puts a cracking shift in, incredible shift up top, but has real limitations. I think those limitations are shown. I don't have to sugarcoat it for anybody. The two-headed chances at Everton's got to score at least one of those. And he hasn't had a lot of chances in his time, but I would say, I can think off the top of my head, he's had 5 clear-cut chances with headers. I think he's only hit the target once or twice, and one of them was a goal. For a guy who's obviously been feeding off scraps, it's not great. It's not great that he's having to feed off scraps, which he has been. But I think Callum Wilson gives you different strengths to what Chris Wood does. You won't have the hold up and running off and flick ons from Wilson, but I think I can see the likes of Bruno really feeding off the runs on playing on the shoulder and things like that Callum Wilson would do and runs through. Which is another reason why Allan Saint-Maximin needs brought back into the team at some point when he's fully fit, is simply because he makes runs and finds spaces that others don't see. And Chris Wood, it's not his game. He doesn't have that in his game. To run in behind, he can't do it. So I think for me, I wouldn't argue with sticking with this system. I really like it. I think it works really well. I think it's compact in defence. I think it breaks out really well in attack. If lacking in certain departments, you probably need somebody a little bit sharper in the forward line for me with this formation, and I think you get that with Callum Wilson.
Yeah, he's got, once he's got a full squad to pick from, he has got chances to change things, choices as well. So that is interesting. Yeah, great options to have. Stuart Taylor, he says, hi both. What would be the one thing that you would like the team to improve on over the last 9 games? For me, really scoring goals.
Goals. It's very easy, that one. They leave themselves in positions like they did at Everton because they didn't look like scoring goals particularly. They need somebody to put the chances away. And they need somebody to be a little bit more clinical. I think Wilson is a bit more clinical. He's proven that. God, he's literally fed off scraps from the moment he walked through the door at Newcastle, and has always, when fit, contributed with goals consistently. I think in this team, which is much better set up, much better organised, I think you'll really make hay up front. And I think I'd love to see him get a chance and come back this season. And it looks like he's heading in the right direction. They're going to take it easy with him. I've heard, it might be a question that comes up, but I've heard little rumours that the one, I've seen the Telegraph did something, but I'd heard the same, that they'd kind of penciled in Norwich for a return.
Yeah.
So that would be really positive, because that would give him the last 4 games of the season. And I wouldn't go against him getting another couple of goals in that little run, even though he hasn't played a lot of games. But look, it'd be nice. Look, why not? If we're safe with 4 games to go and Callum Wilson comes back, Steve, what's the harm in Eddie Howe giving it a try and say, you know what, for a couple of games, I'll play them both up front and see what it's like. See if we can set the team up in a different way. I suspect if they played 2 up front, that Allan Saint-Maximin might be one of those 2. But we'll wait and see. And it's like what I've just said, it's nice for him to have these options. And me saying about Chris Wood not being this, not being that, doesn't mean I think he's a bad player. I think he's a good player, but I'm not sure this is exactly playing to his strengths, the way that we're playing at the moment. And I do think he's putting in a tremendous shift. I've never seen many players at Newcastle win so many headers outside the box. The little flick-ons, the bringing others into play, the creating spaces for others, which is what he does with the style of play that he has. But what I would say is that I think, can they potentially improve on that? I think they can, and Callum Wilson would do that.
Yeah, okay, it'll be interesting to see. That's another conundrum for him to work out. Hi, guys. Do you think the club will be ruthless in regards to selling players to make space for additions? For example, Chris Wood's been great, but surely looking at major upgrades in quality and depth in all positions. That's a question from Richard Smith.
Yeah, I think Chris Wood becomes another option, though. I don't think he's one they'll look to shift on. I think Dwight Gale's the obvious one that they'll shift on. I think Dwight Gale would have been gone in January had Callum Wilson not picked up the injury that he did. Because I think they would have signed two strikers. Probably wouldn't have been Chris Wood, but they would have signed two strikers, a younger version and a more proven striker. I think what they'll go for in the summer is I think the majority of the efforts will be into signing a top centre forward. I'm not talking about like you see all these random names bandied around and they're not going to be silly. They've proven the way that they're going to go about their business model are not going to change that. I think they'll spend good money in the summer. I think they'll bring in players that prove they can bring in players bring in shrewd signings as in not having to spend a lot. I think they'll use the free market quite well. I think they might use the loan market again. I think they'll look to sign a key centre forward. They'll obviously, as we've seen, a goalkeeper was one that got put to the sidelines in January, but will be revisited again in the summer. And I think we'll see potentially a permanent for Matt Target and then upgrades, probably another central defender, at least another central defender to play with or around Share, Lascelles and Byrne. I think there'll be another centre half brought in. And I think we'll probably see another central midfielder as well, to be honest. I think we'll see a player to come in who probably plays that Willock role, somebody to sort of play potentially with him. And beyond that, you've got to say Murphy and Almiron is one. There's a question mark in the squad. Is do you upgrade in that area as well? And I think that might be one that's high on the priority list. So I think they'll probably look to do 5 to 6 pieces of business in the summer.
Colour Coats asks, Isaac Hayden's FA charge, was it expected after his comment, and what's the outcome likely to be?
Absolutely expected, yeah. As soon as he tweeted it, it was obvious he was going to get hauled up in front of the FA, because it's not what he was essentially doing was he didn't say I think the referees made a bad decision. He basically just called his whole integrity into question, didn't he? By saying he was the 12th playing against 12 men. He was basically on one side, not the other. So are the FA people might not like it, but are the FA right in putting him up and charging? Absolutely. But was he right in his assessment? In my opinion, absolutely. I don't think the referee was on Chelsea's side, but I do think there were some very bad decisions made, not only from the pitch at Stamford Bridge, but also from Stockley Park. Essentially, is that not what VAR is meant to be there for? Is it not meant to make correct decisions and change bad ones? Look, I think their red card at Everton, I don't think that was a red card either. I think it was cynical. I think it was one that's in between a yellow and a red. But to me, it wasn't bad enough. I think he got the red because he was out of control, wasn't he? The way that he dived in, both feet were off the ground, etc. But I don't think there'll be elements of that as why they've judged it. I don't know the exact, but that's what I'm imagining. But I wouldn't have said that was a red card. I just think there's so many bad decisions. And what this has done is taken out the human error. So when there were bad decisions prior to VAR, you could go, he's just made a mistake, hasn't he? He's only got one chance to see it. Now we're actually, they can look at it again, but they're still making awful decisions. So it isn't VAR that's the problem. Because, for example, the Chelsea ones, they looked at those again and said, he hasn't made a clear error. They just genuinely looked at the Jacob Murphy penalty incident and didn't see what had happened and didn't see, for example, that Jacob Murphy had ran the ball out rather than it be a corner. They're just not looking at things correctly. I'm not sure that referees are the right people to do this. There maybe needs to be some kind of video analyst team, somebody who's looking at things in depth, specifically trained by the Premier League. They've got enough money. Pay people good money to go in and make these decisions. It might be ex-referees, it might be ex-professionals, it might be. I'd like to see that actually some ex-professionals get involved in it. But the only problem there is you've got certain sways where people, would have to be very, very neutral. But yeah, I think VAR is not the problem. It's the standard of refereeing in England, and you could always fall back on the idea, oh well, it was just an error, really, wasn't it? It was a stupid decision. There's no excuse for this now. There's no excuse for making bad decisions. Bad decisions can be overturned, but they're almost like it's such a poorly run organisation, the referees association in this country, that I feel like sometimes they may be making decisions before they've even been made. We stick with I've heard this before said about like referees and linesmen. Like, for example, if one of them doesn't see it, as soon as I make the call, you just stick with us. Instead of like, even that's so silly. It's stupid. Why don't you just try and make the right decision instead of trying worrying about your own ego and what you might look like? Just make the right decision, because ultimately everybody makes mistakes in life. Doesn't matter who's watching you. Everyone makes mistakes. If you've got the opportunity to turn it around and change them, which most people would love in everyday life after they've made a mistake, would be able to, all right, can we just roll the clock back and I'll just review that again and I'll maybe not say that to somebody, or maybe not do that. They don't have that opportunity, but referees do, and they still choose not to do it. That's just really bad. It's a really, really bad attitude, really bad setup they've got there, and it can be easily changed. But there's enough money there, and there should be enough training to go on that these decisions shouldn't happen. And it's to English football's detriment as well.
The good news today, of course, is Mike Dean's retiring. I've tried to find the most unflattering photo of Mike Dean possible, because it's all about Mike Dean, of course. But yeah, he's off at the end of the season and definitely won't be missed by Newcastle United fans. That's for certain. Okay,
he's
next.
Is he not moving across and becoming one of the VAR specialists?
Yeah, probably, but at least we won't see him. NUFC 88 says Neymar, is it agents trying to draw in big European teams or legit rumours? Dybala looks like he will be free in the summer. Do you think he is someone we will go for, and do you rate him?
Sorry, what was the second one?
Dybala.
Oh, Dybala, right, sorry,
my pronunciation of foreign names is well renowned on this show. Dybala. Dybala.
I was trying to work out you're talking about a German player or something. Dybala. I was like, oh, who's he? Oh, Dybala. I don't think either of them. I think it's rubbish. I think the first one, Neymar's rubbish. Absolute rubbish. I think everyone knows it's rubbish as well. That's not the route they're going down. It's not the route they're gonna go down. Do I think they'll sign good quality players? I think they're going to be shopping in the Bruno market. That's the Bruno and Trippier market in the summer. That's what they're going to be shopping in. And
that's
I think
what fans want to hear.
They'll sign 4 or 5 of those type level players. And that's why I say, and I think I said it on the show last week, that if you said to me Newcastle will finish 10th next season, I don't think that'll be good enough for the investment that'll be made. I think there'll be a lot of pressure on if they went and did that. I think they need to aim higher, and I think they will be aiming higher. I think they'll be aiming for top 8.
Last few Twitter questions. Any injury updates, Liam, says Brian?
Just said it before that I'd heard the rumour that Norwich was a penciled-in game for Callum Wilson. I've seen suggestions. I think it was the Telegraph yesterday suggested it might even be earlier. I think the way that they've treated Wilson in terms of his recovery, I think the last thing they want to do is rush him back. But if he can get back for that game, it would be incredible. What an incredible boost to see his name on the bench, as I imagine he would be. And coming on maybe for 10, 15 minutes at the end of a game would be incredible. And he'll be raring to go as well. But they've been taking it carefully. I think the results that they've got on the pitch has meant that they can take it a bit more carefully with him and Trippier. And I don't want to see them rush back. I want to see them both. I can't wait to see them both back in black and white shirts, because they are 2 of our best players. Arguably, you could easily make a case to say we're best 2 players, and I can't wait to see them back. But they need to be fit and they need to be right. And I think Howe's proven in the past he'll take time with it and he'll do it properly. So is his medical team, so has the club recently. So I think they'll not rush them back. They'll only be back when they're ready. But Norwich is what I'd heard. I don't know about Trippier. I think there were suggestions around the same time as well. That would be a very, very fast recovery from the type of injury that he had. But let's hope he is. Let's hope he is fit and ready to go by Crystal Palace or Norwich, because the impact he would have in terms of just being back and being around the place would be incredible. And they do miss him. They miss him as much as anybody down that right-hand side, because not only is he's a character who leads by example, but also he's a goal threat. He's a goal threat from free kicks, and he's delivering into the box. And Chris would be thriving in this new setup now if you had Trippier pinging balls in from. Look, Emil Kraft gets forward really well. He's got forward really well. Bombs on down the right hand side. But if you then had that Trippier delivery on the end of it, then I think Chris would be licking his lips by now and probably have another couple of goals.
Yeah, and I think that will come. I think we'll have a fantastic end of the season. I've got to be perfectly honest. I'm looking forward to it. Last couple of questions, as I said. Paul says, can Matt Targett be recalled by Aston Villa as their left back Lucas Digne is a long-term injury now? I think the answer is no to that, isn't it?
I'd heard nothing of the sort. So
yeah, there's no recall. I don't think there's any recall option in the loan deal.
He's not. What I would say. So let's just think this one through. He won't have been named in Aston Villa's 25-man squad for the back end of the season, so how could he play? There
we go. That's it. Simple answer. No recall option. Not named in the 25-man squad. The answer is no. Dave, final question on Twitter. Any update on timescales for Dan Ashworth?
No. Sorry. Unfortunately.
Sorry, no updates on that. Okay, time to give the sponsors a shout out. And a big thanks to John from QTech, who always comes up with a prize. You might have seen it flash up earlier. Win 2 tickets for Newcastle versus Wolves. Thank you, John, for donating these tickets from QTech. Fancy 2 free tickets to Newcastle versus Wolves? Then simply retweet and at 3 friends to me on Twitter, at Steve Wraith, and follow us on the YouTube channel. It couldn't be any simpler. So get onto me Twitter, at Steve Wraith, retweet it, but at 3 friends at the same time. So it gains a bit of traction. And hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and you are entered into the draw. It's a chance to win 2 tickets. And of course, we know it is very difficult to get tickets these days at St. James's Park. So why not enter that today? Okay, thank you to Spider VP. You can.
Can I really? No, I shouldn't be allowed to. I can't.
You're not an employee. You're not an employee. If you're an employee of NUFC Matters, yeah. But you're somebody who gives up your time for free to come on the channel. So you can enter, mate. Nothing's stopping you. But
it is done. Gold dust to get tickets these days, isn't it? Gold dust.
It will be done fairly and squarely, as it always is by John. There is no manipulation or treachery in any of his competitions. He always does them fairly. So enter yourself. Why not? As I say, if you were employed, it would be a different matter. But there's, I think it would be laughed upon by the trolls, and it'd be a conspiracy if you won. Big thank you to Spider VPN. We are about to get some new Spider VPN logos and promote some new stuff. So watch this space. But Spider VPN for the time being, Google them. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust as far as protecting your computer is concerned. Thanks to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 01913897245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD Hemp and Cannabinoid Specialists, www.thegohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors, based on Heaton Road in Newcastle. You could Google them as well, and they will give you a decent deal on kitchen necessities. Just Google Arcot Interiors; they come up at the top of the search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks to ClearKai, meet the new Game Over screen, drop into a ClearRun device near you, available from Apple Store, Google Play, and clearrun.game, and to jabsignature.co.uk. Thanks to Media Arts for all our video bits and bobs. And if you want to subscribe, hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to become a member, You can either join via nufcmatters.com, pay a one-off fee of £25. You get a cup, a scarf, a pen, and a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. And you can also run your phone across the QR code, which takes you straight to the registration form for that. Good luck. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, as I've already said, you do get a car sticker, but you must email john@nufcmatters.com to claim your free car sticker. Don't forget, we support the food bank on here as well. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. Make a virtual deposit into the bucket, and you can help the good food bank, which we have in the Northeast. They've obviously had no home games for a couple of weeks, so any donations will be welcome. Don't forget, we've got an event coming up on the 9th of April. Myself, Supermac, Gibbo, and Holly Blades are at the Marlborough Social Club. Tickets are a tenner. Get yourself along, as a lot of the NUFC Matters community are coming. And if you're a member, you can get a pair of free tickets for that. So don't forget, if you are a member, you do get, basically 2 free tickets. And of course, it's 25 quid to become a member. So essentially, you're covering the cost of those tickets with your membership and then getting into the membership draw. So why not become a member today and get your free tickets? And don't forget, the Alan Shearer event is looming as well. 7th of April, Liam Kennedy interviewing Alan Shearer. And next week, we are going to do an Alan Shearer special next Tuesday, where we will be talking about Alan's career at Newcastle and looking ahead to the big event, which Liam is excited about. It's like Christmas for him, getting up on stage and interviewing our hero. But you can win 2 tickets. Enter now, £5 for the raffle, 99 to 1 chance of winning this raffle. We've already given 2 pairs of tickets away. You can be on the NUFC Matters table by entering the raffle, and that will be drawn on Friday on the Three Amigos. And if you want to buy a ticket for the event, go to 260dinner.co.uk. Okay, on to the chat, which has been quite busy. Tom Dixon, as often, is in first. What's your thoughts on Maximin? It looks like he's working so hard in training, says Tom.
I find I just need to be really careful what I say. Like, I find I do think a lot of people have got short memories. I really do. Look, do I think Allan Saint-Maximin is perfect? No. Do I think he's got a lot of faults? Yes. Do I think he's probably the best ball carrier in the Premier League? I also think that, yeah. And probably the most exciting player Newcastle have had here in a long time. Do I think during times in Steve Bruce's reign, did he carry the team and win games on his own? Absolutely. And he did at the start of this season. He was virtually the only player who turned up for the first few weeks of the campaign. And I think a lot of people are too keen to forget that. The lad hasn't trained a lot. He's been poor in the 2 games that he's come on at Chelsea and at Everton. But as Eddie Howe quite correctly pointed out, and there is a positive relationship between the two, despite what some people might try and manifest online, that there is. He had only trained 2 days in 4 weeks. I think this break is going to be perfect for him. I think he's going to come back, and I still think he'll have a big part to play between now and the end of the season. He has obviously got a social media team working for him. He's put these things out. I think that's a bit flaky. I think he needs to just get on with his football, not worry about or have his social media team worrying about what people are saying about him online. I think he probably does a bit too much of that at times, but it's you take the rough with the smooth. He's made a lot of people smile, a lot of people laugh with the type of things he's done online. So he's just being him. I wouldn't change. I think he's a massive asset to this football club. I think he's a massive asset to this team. And I think a lot of people are too easy to forget that because he might give the ball away every so often. It depends how you frame the player. If you frame him in the idea that you want him to suddenly become a hard-working, tuck-in, chase back, do loads of running type winger, then you've just got the wrong perspective because that's not what he is. He never has been, never will be. Can he do a little bit more of that? Yes. And has he been doing a bit more of that? He has. But he's an exciting, put bums on seats type footballer who wants the ball in the final third, who wants to be running at players, will take anybody on, inside, outside, he'll do the lot. And has added this season, the stats back this up, has added goals and assists in his start. The end product isn't always perfect, but it's getting there. It's really getting there. Just needs to make sure he gets the fitness right, because when he's fit and firing, there aren't many like him. I think it's really good to see. Back to your question, Tom. I think it's really good to see. Sorry, it was Tom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Back to that question. I think it's really positive to see him working hard. As they all are, though. It's not just one. The whole group's working hard. It's not just Allan Saint-Maximin. But this break will be really good for him. Back in with the group, get fit, and come back against Tottenham. And I can see him potentially being back in the starting team against Tottenham. And making a big impact. That's just the way I see it. I don't think he's perfect. I don't think he's the finished product. I think he has faults, but what a player he's been for Newcastle United in the time he's been here, and long may it continue, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Has there been any information regarding new sponsorship deals coming in, Liam?
I haven't heard any, no. I haven't heard any. The last conversation I had about that, which albeit was quite some time ago, was that there was no rush to get things sorted. It'll happen when it happens. I don't think there's any panic. So I wouldn't, fans out there who are panicking about those kind of things, I wouldn't worry about it, because they're not.
Dean asks 2 questions. He just says, all the talk is about how many we will bring in over the summer, but how many do you think will leave? And Dean also says, I'd imagine that improvements around St James's Park and the training ground in the off-season, what sort of things can you see being done?
I think it'll just be housekeeping, just general maintenance, general upgrades. I don't think there'll be anything significant, but I think it'll be a noticeable difference by, say, 12 months' time. There will be noticeable differences around both the training ground and St James's Park. It wouldn't take a lot at St James's Park, would it? To start keep improving, and they are doing that. We've seen that consistently. Shearer's been the latest refurb, the bar, the refurb and change of name. We've seen a cleaning operation going on. We've seen a general tidy up. We've seen little minor changes here and there. And I think that'll just continue. I think they'll just keep trying to improve the supporter experience for fans at St James's Park on a match day. I think they'll also look to improve the player experience. That's where they go in every day at Darsley Park, Benton. And I also think they'll obviously they've looked at sites. May well have a very short list of sites to look at with regards where the training ground might go, and I think that'll come, but that'll take time. So I think what you have to do is, in the short term, you have to, it's like when you're trying to sell a house, I suppose you do the house up to a point, don't you, to make it look good. And I think they'll have to do that to make it good for the players that they're wanting to upgrade to in the summer. And moving forward as a club, they'll have to make upgrades to this one before they do the big switch, which will happen, but it'll take time. The other question was about players, about numbers of players. I've said that. Who do I think will leave? I think there's 3 or 4 obvious ones who probably leave. I think some are in the squad, some aren't. I've said last week I'd be very surprised if any of them not in the squad now get integrated back in. But it could happen. I mean, you can't 100% rule out Isaac Hayden. You can't 100% rule out Jamal Lewis. I would suspect Kieran Clark's time's done, even though, of course, he's been pictured. We've seen him out there as part of the training group in Dubai. There is probably the likes of Dwight Gale. He'll be right. His head will probably be close to the chopping block with regards this squad. I think one of the right backs will probably have to go as well. Emil Kraft, potentially. I think possibly Federico Fernandez is another who'd be right at the top of that list. And I think there's probably 2 or 3 others. I think if you bring, as I mentioned before, if you bring 5 to 6 in, there's going to have to be 5 to 6 leave. And I think the only obvious ones are probably Fernandez, Kraft, and Gale off the top of my head. But there'll be others as well. I think there's a question mark about Almiron or Murphy. I think one of those would potentially have to go. I think you've got to look elsewhere in the centre-half department. Does Paul Dummett have a future? I think he really likes him, but does he have a long-term future? I don't know. Emil Kraft's the other one. Kieran Clark will definitely go. But they're going to have to make room in this squad. They're going to have to adjust players and take players in and out to make room in this squad. And I think we'll see a totally different squad. I think there'll be 5 at least significant improvements on this squad, which is why I keep talking about the idea of just aiming for 12, 10 isn't acceptable probably next season. I think they're going to be aiming for top 8. And I think next season, if they continue in this manner and with the additions I expect them to make, I think they'll be in and around that European talk. I think they'll be on the fringes of that next season.
Yeah. Okay, good stuff. Got about 15 minutes left, so get your questions in. I'll try to get it through a few different ones today. Terry Armstrong always makes me laugh. He says, "Morning, lads. This is the time of the week where the boss questions why my productivity drops for an hour." L. Stapleton says, "Do you think Target will sign for us in the summer? I've read a report he was considering offers."
Yeah, I think he will. Yeah, I think he'll want to as well. And I think the club want to sign him too. So I think that's a deal that'll probably get done relatively easily and quickly, unless, of course, they feel like they can potentially upgrade or he's not happy. You never know these things, but he doesn't strike me as a player who looks particularly unhappy. So I think if there's the idea of offers, it's probably only the agent trying to make sure he gets the right wages for his player.
Yeah. Terry also says, "Is it just me, or is anyone else finding it difficult not to be upset by the Chelsea takeover? We did say last year the PIF were buying one of the corrupt six, it would be waved through." Yeah, I mean, obviously this is big news, isn't it? Chelsea having to change hands because of the owner being one of Putin's best pals, and it does seem that this could get waved through quite quickly, which is bizarre, really.
Yeah. I find it hard to be angry about anything like that. I see why some fans might, of course, the tribalism and things like that, but I'm not really bothered what happens with the Chelsea takeover. Honestly, I couldn't care less who takes them over or what's happening there, because all that matters to me is Newcastle United becomes the best club it could possibly can be with the current ownership model that they have, which I'm happy with. And I think we will go from strength to strength, and I'm not really looking forward to that journey. Whatever Chelsea do, they've been on a totally different course to us over the last 25 years, and fair play to them. They've enjoyed their ride along the way, so let them, whichever road it takes them down now, I'm not really bothered. But I know we're on an upward trajectory, and hopefully we'll meet them along the way.
Yeah, Gary says, "Rest in peace, Barrington Patterson." Yeah, I would like to say the same. I mean, Barrington and I were in a film called The Governors many moons ago now. Myself there with a few notable football hooligans. I was the only actor on that day, but Barrington stepped up to the place. That's him in the back row at the left-hand side. He was a well-respected face in Birmingham. He was part of the infamous Zulus hooligan gang, but he turned his life around. He became an anti-knife campaigner. He became an author, an actor, and also became he was somebody who was heavily involved in martial arts, getting the kids off the streets in his area. He turned over a new leaf, which is what people are entitled to do. And I had the sad news this morning, like everybody else did, from his wife, Tracy, that Barrington suffered a massive heart attack last night. And despite the services trying to rescue him for over an hour, trying to resuscitate him for over an hour, he lost his battle for life. So, rest in peace, big man. Very, very sad occasion for us all that today. Also, I've got to give this a bit of a plug. The Laurels, I've stuck it in the chat. This Thursday, I'm doing a talk-in with Steve Howie. I forgot to mention that during the ads. Now, the tickets are £15. thelaurelswhitley.co.uk. I think they've done about 25 tickets. Now, it's a small venue. I think it only seats 70. But get yourself along. Come along to the event. It's a cracking night. We'll have a little bit of auction stuff. Me and Steve will be on stage. We'll be doing two halves. Get yourself down. If you live in the Whitley Bay area, Tynemouth area, that's a cracking night. Good value. Get yourself down to give us a little bit of support. Come along and see us, and we will have a good night out together. Good morning to Kevin from Lakeland, Florida. Wow, it's always good to hear where people are from. And, sometimes you're just names on a screen, but we get to know some people. So, Kevin, hope you're having a good time. I mean, it's sunny here, mate, but I've got a little feeling that the sun in Florida might just be a little warmer than it is in the Dunstan Riviera. Geordie Toon for Life. Good morning, Stephen Liam. Hope you both well. With Man U, City, Arsenal, and probably more clubs, including Chelsea, looking for strikers next season. Will this be our priority? Yeah, we've talked about this, but goalkeeper and centre forward, i.e. a man who can put the goal in the back of the net 20 times, I think will be our priority. And people say goalkeeper. Well, yeah, because I don't think we've got strength and depth in that position.
Yeah, and I think that's when I was talking about players to leave. I think you could well see two of the crop of, I think we've got 5 at the moment. 2 of those will probably leave, and 1 will come in. I think a centre forward, as I mentioned earlier, will probably take up the priority position that they want to sign in the summer. But what I would say is I've seen a lot of names mentioned there of clubs, even Arsenal and Man City and others looking for strikers as well. We need to forget we're not in that market. We're not playing Champions League football. We're not even playing European football. So the idea of competing with those clubs for those players is one I would definitely, if you're thinking that's what we're going to do, would put at the back of your minds, because we're a few years away from doing anything like that.
How's the dog, Liam? Says Tom.
Fast asleep.
Good stuff. You've got to train for these shows now. I see
Dog's
that.
life, yeah.
A dog's life. Mike Jen, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Yeah, you can become a YouTube member. Just click join underneath the video if you want to do that. It's a little way of making a donation. You know, it's not a fortune. So if you want to do that, please do. Liam, Tom also says, do you think Elliot Anderson and Matty Longstaff will still have a future at the club?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Particularly the first one. I think Matty's got a lot to prove, but I think he's kind of, they're both really at the same stage of their development. They're both doing the first loan thing. And I think probably next season we'll both see them loaned up much higher. I think we'll probably see both of them potentially in the Championship next year. Like I said, Matty's 22 now. He's probably a little bit further down the line, but missed those years. He probably should have been loaned out 2-3 years ago to be making the kind of loan that he's got now. I say first loan, of course, Aberdeen was his first loan, but I think we'll probably see them both loaned a little bit higher next season. For the first, it probably makes sense for the first 6 months and see where they're at after that.
Yeah. Liam, I know you can't say much about your book, says John, which is out in August. But will there be something in there about the way the fashionable six try to influence the takeover agenda?
Everything will be legal that goes in the book. So anything that can be proven, yeah, I'll certainly, not to give any spoilers, but there'll be plenty in there to sort of enjoy and look back on, and lots of stuff about the legal cases, etc.
Yeah, Liam, you can enter, says John. So there you are, confirmation. You can enter.
I'm thinking about, can I get any tickets for me little one going forward? I'm like, oh, I need it. I'll enter this draw, see if I can get him in.
Yeah, Mikey Mad's taking it down a completely different road, and we're not talking food now. I think John, who was one of the moderators, thought this was a bit of a dig at me, but it seems to be a genuine question from Mikey Mad. How long have you been bald? Now I think he means bald, and then he followed it up with this. I'm 34 and I'm receding, see? Struggle with confidence when bald. I look tougher, but I feel naked. You understand me, Steve? So, and then actually, I tell a lie. He says, I'm 35 today. So there we go. And he says, Tino Aspria and David Ginola made me connect with Newcastle. That low-collar shirt was the best shirt the Premier ever had. Okay, Mikey Mad, I fought hard to have my hair like this. I started shaving my head when I was at school. I had long hair. I used to have a long Chrissy Waddle like type perm, but then I decided to shave my hair, and it was Gaza who made me do it. I followed the fringe. I followed the fashion. I shaved my hair around the sides and I left hair on the top, and I wanted to be like Gaza. But then when Gaza left, I don't know. There was something about having short hair that had really appealed to me, and that was it. And I fought hard because my dad hated us to have it. He says I look like a convict, but I won in the end, and I've had it ever since. So I would say from the age of probably 15, 16 onwards, I've done it. Now, I did have to try and grow it back for a play a few years back. That was an absolute nightmare, by the way. And
you got any pictures?
Well, I know, and yeah, probably there's probably one or two, but they are. It was fluffy. It's probably the best way to describe it. It was absolutely ridiculous, and I've got a bald patch now. So, yeah, Mikey, thanks for taking it down a completely different direction. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Totally agree, Liam. The criticism ASM's getting is over the top. He's a fabulous footballer. It's a true saying, when these players go, you realise how good they are. Ginola, Robert, Hatton, Ben Arfa, fabulous. So he was just agreeing with you. Geordie Tune for Life, I love this. And I've only cottoned onto this morning. But Stephen Miller, our greatest ever Paralympian and all-round good egg and a great Tune fan, is in Dubai. And, of course, he's sitting there watching Newcastle train in his own seat. But me and Dad spending time with Stephen Miller, he's such a lovely bloke. Nothing is a problem for me and Dad. He's such a gentleman. I agree. And it was great to see that. I hope him and Roz, his mum, are having the time of their life. And what a joy to be able to see that photograph. That made me smile this morning. Absolutely brilliant. Any news, says Terry, on bringing back halftime entertainment? I used to love the Zorb racing against away fans, says Terry Armstrong. I guess we're still in we're still in COVID zones at the moment, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah, we are. Yeah. So there's still a red zone around the players and things like that. So I would imagine, I'm just guessing, but these things are probably some way off, I would think.
Mikey Mad then showed his true colours. I'm good at Newcastle. Let's see if this season I really wanted them to get relegated. See, John, you were right. You were right. What calibre of striker do you think we'll go for in the summer? Any names? Oh, great question. Harry Kane? I did ask Shearer that.
I did. I've seen that. Yeah. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't think we'll be anywhere near that level. I think the lad from Benfica is the name that had been mentioned a few times in January, and it's one Nunes, I think he's called, would be one we'll probably follow up on in the summer. But I think they're working on targets now. They're working on all that kind of thing. So I think we'll be. I think they'll sign a top striker. I don't know who it'll be. I don't have any names. I'm not going to suggest any either, but I think they'll sign somebody who'll score goals. And that's ultimately what we need at Newcastle United. A striker who, we've got one in Callum Wilson, but it's no fault of his own. It's just sometimes this is the genetic makeup of these players. It's that they do pick up injuries, and he's one of those. He's one of those that's always going to pick up injuries by the looks of him. If you look at his history at Newcastle United. So they need somebody who can rely on to score goals, and having Callum Wilson as a next best option is not going to be a bad place next season.
Okay. Woodman's having a nightmare at Bournemouth. Hope the lad gets back on track. Youth World Cup winner shouldn't be warming the bench in the Championship, says Guy Brush.
I think he'll be one of the ones that goes in the summer, personally.
Yeah. Do you know Mike Ashley, and do you like him, says Glasgow, keep it real. No, I don't know him personally. So therefore I can't say whether I like him or not. I don't like what he liked. I don't like what he did to our football club though, Glasgow. Stephen Miller lives in the next street to me. I often see him when I'm out with the dogs and have a chat at every chance with Stephen, says Geordie Tunebelife. That's nice. David C says Mitro would be worth no, please no. Mitro would be worth a gamble now. I didn't rate him when he was with us, but seems to have gone up a level. David, I'm not having to dig at you, but I can't abide Mitro. Everything that was wrong with him at Newcastle, it doesn't change because he's gone into the Championship and he's banging in goals. I just don't see it. I rate Chris Wood higher than I rate Mitro, I'm afraid. It's not for me, David. It's not for me. Liam, would you see Mitro coming back as a positive?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that at all. I'm not sure Chris Wood's a better player than Mitro, to be honest, but I don't think they'll be going back to anybody like that. I don't see the point. I think they're wanting to level up, not go backwards. Mitro will be a step backwards, big step backwards, to be honest, because he's another player, as I've said with Chris Wood. Mitro has huge limitations. Yeah.
Okay. Is Mike Ashley like the same way he is in Glasgow Rangers? Yes, he is, mate. He's not liked at all. Gary Douglas, yes, mate. I had to change my Twitter settings during the whole takeover time. I was getting inundated with questions, mate, and I'm quite polite. I do try to answer everybody's inboxes, but it was getting to a ridiculous level. I've got over like 40 odd thousand subscribers on Twitter, and I was literally getting 100 new requests today, message requests, mate. I just can't deal with it, mate. I've got to do other things. But if you want to send one, just at us on there, and it obviously just send us them as a direct, not as a message, but as a tweet. That would be great. David C says, I hated Mitro as well, just think it would be a decent gamble. Yeah, look, all about opinions, mate. I think we'll be aiming higher than that. We need a mobile striker, not another static one, says Geordie Tunebelife. Yeah, I would say, and thumbs up from Glasgow's keep it real. So yeah, we're coming towards the end of the show. I think we've got through everybody's questions. Just want to thank Liam, as always, for giving up his time on a Tuesday morning. Just tell us where people can find you and your work, Liam.
Castle World, just down here. Check it out on the website. It's a project that we started planning for, which started about a year ago, 12 months in the making, and things have gone really, really well in the first month since last summer when we went live. Much to do with the support of you guys out there who watch this show. Just keep on reading the content, keep on supporting on social media, etc. But yeah, it's all free. All the content that we produce is free, so it's free to everybody. Lots of videos, big push on video content. Sign up with the push notifications if you like Newcastle news straight to your mobile. Something that we're really pushing out at the moment. But yeah, any stories, anything like that, just drop me a DM. My DMs are always open. I'm not quite as inundated as someone like Steve, as I can imagine. So yeah, if you've got any stories, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to discuss about our content on Newcastle World, just give me a shout.
Great stuff, mate. As I say, next week, I've got a little bit of time off. I've got a bit of filming work to do on the new film that I'm doing, Requiem, where I'm playing another villain. Aaron, he's called. So I've got to get into character. I've been learning my lines this week. So we are doing a special show about Alan Shearer, me and Liam, next week. So a little bit of a break from the norm. And then we'll be back the following week, of course, taking your questions. So great to have you on, Liam. Have a good week and see you soon, mate.